Cool. All right. Rock and roll time. Hey, this is Dan here at Studio Blue. This is Pilates All Levels. Only props that you might need is a mini ball. If you don't have a mini ball, a pillow would work. Just make sure it has enough size to it that you can get some movement on your back. If you don't have any props, no worries. It can all be done without. And if anything doesn't feel good in your body, please don't push through any kind of negative pain, especially neck, joint, low back, or anything like that. All that said, we're going to start hands and knees. Just find a comfortable place. These thicker mats, if you're using something thick at home as well, can tend to tense the wrists. So you can always bring your hands onto a harder surface if your wrists are feeling sensitive at all this morning. So fingers spread pretty wide, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And just start by taking a couple of deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Yeah. And as you inhale, really allow your stomach to expand to the floor. And as you exhale, feel your waistline drawing up away from your t-shirt. Let's do a couple like that. So inhale, the belly relaxes. And then exhale, the stomach gently draws up. And then as you do this, just check in that the shoulders aren't creeping up. And there's a sense of pushing down through your hands. So there's a sense of width through your upper back. Then the next time that you breathe out, start to round the spine up. So curling tail, dropping chin, shoulder blades widen. Maybe stay here for a breath or two. Feel some weight through your knees, your shins, and even the tops of the feet. And then on your next breath in, start to open the chest. Keep a sense of the stomach still drawing in a little bit as your eyes come forward and as your tailbone lifts. So your whole spine essentially is extending as evenly as possible. And then again, exhaling around, curl tail, drop chin. Try to relax through the back of the glutes. Let the shoulders soften out of the ears, even as they widen. And just one more, open the chest, find some extension, right? So neck, upper spine, middle spine, and lower spine. Find the place in the middle of those two extremes. And then as you exhale, wag your tail to the right, look towards it. It's a little bit of a side bend. And then as you inhale, come through center. And then exhale, wag to the left and look to the left. Yeah. Let's take a couple like this on each side. So wagging and looking. There's still a little bit of a sense of rounding through the middle back, especially. So just make sure you don't feel like you're creating tension, but you feel like you're kind of getting a little bit of a stretch. Good. Yeah, just take one more to the left whenever you get there. There's no rush. Seeing where our music went. Yeah, and then find your center. And then feet together, knees open, press back into child's pose or resting pose. And maybe the arms go forward. You can press the palms into the floor, hips into heels. Or maybe the hands come underneath your forehead for a little bit of support for the shoulders and the neck. So wherever you're at, take a couple full breaths. And as you breathe in, try not to breathe necessarily into your stomach, just your stomach rather, but see if you can bring a little more breath from the side of the rib cage and the back of the rib cage. And that's going to be really important when we start to go into our abdominal work. So learning how to open the breath a little bit more three-dimensionally rather than just into the stomach. And just take one more full breath in through nose, out through mouth. And then as you exhale, roll yourself up and then come on to your back. If you're using a ball, grab that ball, place it in between the knees. So your feet are about ball distance, and you could use a block, you could use a pillow, anything like that would work. And then arms get to relax by your side. So first, just kind of take note of what parts of your body are touching the floor. So what parts of your feet, the first toe, the last toe, the heel, behind the pelvis, the rib cage, the head. And then start to notice what parts of the body are not touching the floor. So the arches of the feet, a little bit of space under the lower back, and a little bit of space underneath the neck. And on your next breath out, keeping weight on all three corners of the feet, curl the tail and start to roll your hips to the sky. Just rolling up one bone at a time. And as the hips roll up, try not to lose that space under the arches of the feet or the neck. So the neck still has some length. There's still a sense of lift through the arch and the inner shins. And then on your next breath out, just roll it down. It's nice and slow. Yeah, so take your time at your own time, your own pace, curling, rolling up. Yeah, and then Eva, feet forward just a little bit. Yeah, nice. Yeah, holding at the top and then rolling down. Nice. Good. And start to feel the back of the glutes connecting on the way up. Yeah. On the way down, really use your stomach to try to get some space and some traction into your spine. And then give that ball a little squeeze if you're using one, or whatever prop you're using. Give it a little squeeze so you start to feel your inner thighs kicking in. Yeah. And the next time that you lift up to the top, pause at the top of that bridge. Yeah, and just check in, right? Shoulders, hips, knees, everything's in kind of one kind of fairly long line. And there's some weight to the front of the ribs. So your stomach's on, right? The obliques are on. And just take a big breath in through your nose. And then as you exhale, exhale through your mouth and give that ball a little squeeze. Yeah. And then breathing in, breathe wide. And then exhale, give that ball a little squeeze. Yeah, and just keep going like that. So hips, still lifted a bit. You feel the back of the glutes are on. There's a sense of your feet pulling towards you, so your hamstrings are on as well. And I won't see that happen, but you should feel it. Nice. Just a couple more. Check in that the shoulders are pretty relaxed. If you feel like there's a good amount of tension, you might turn your palms to face up. Yeah, let's help open them up a bit. Good. And on that last squeeze, maintain a little bit of squeeze on your prop and then slowly start to roll down as you exhale. Just upper spine, middle spine, lower spine, all the way down to neutral, right where there's just that little bit of space under the lower spine. Once we're down, clasp your hands together, place them behind your head, elbows lifted so the shoulder blades are wide. Nod the chin, exhale, curl the head and the chest up and pause. So at the top of this lift, kind of recheck that you're still neutral. You haven't overly tucked your pelvis or squeezed through the back of the glutes. You have a little bit of squeeze into that prop. And then on your next breath in, slowly lower the chest. So lower ribs, middle ribs, shoulders, head. Nod the chin, exhale, curl up. Feel the front of the ribs gliding down. Waistline drawing in. Inhale, take it down slowly. So still just warming things up. So nodding chin, exhale, curling. And inhale, taking it down. Nice. And initially, right, you might not get up off your shoulder blades if the back's feeling a little tight. If you can, awesome. And at any point as we start to advance the ab work today, you can always come back to this. So this will kind of be like your foundational ab work. Good. Yeah, like two more like that, right? Little squeeze into the ball. Those inner thigh muscles will help encourage pelvic floor, lower abdominals, all those deeper abs. Last one. Good. So the next time we curl up, maintain your lift. Take an inhale. And on this exhale, allow your lower back to imprint a little bit. So imagining you could pull your pubic bone and your belly button together and the top of the hip bones and the base of the ribs. And then inhale, let your pelvis relax towards neutral. And again, exhale, curl, right? So it's kind of like lower abs are meeting your middle and your upper abs, and inhaling to release. And then keep a little bit of a squeeze on that ball and a sense of your elbows reaching towards the sky on this one. So those shoulder blades are pretty wide. Last two. Yeah, try to keep the chest lifted throughout. Last one. And then let the pelvis open to neutral, lower the chest and the head down to the ground. And then walk your feet towards you. If you want to advance, allow your lower back to imprint. Feet are towards you, legs float up to tabletop. Give your prop a little squeeze. And as you exhale, curl up, so head and chest lift. As you inhale, grab the back of your thighs. Yeah, just kind of wiggle out your shoulders a little bit, maybe wiggle out your upper back, right? Take a big inhale. And then as you exhale, slowly bring the hands around to the back of the head. So the wider you go, the slower you go, the harder it is. Support the head, and on your next breath, lower the chest and the head, but maintain your imprint and maintain a little bit of a squeeze on that prop. Exhale, curl on up, nod chin. Yep. Grab the back of the thighs. And then maybe just curl up just slightly off your shoulder blades. Relax the shoulders out of the ears. Deep breath in. Exhale, yep. Slowly, hands come around without lowering. Give that ball a little squeeze as you lower the chest and head. And again, exhale, curl up. Nice. Grab the back of the thighs. All right, and you're just gonna curl up just a touch higher. Feel the breastbone sinking on your next breath out. Hands to the back of the head. You should feel those abs pretty deep. And on that next breath, chest and head lower down. Last one like this, right? Maintain that imprint, curl up, grab the back of the thighs, maybe just a touch higher, ease into the shoulders. On your next breath out, hands around to the back of the head. Stay lifted on this one. Take a deep breath in to the side of the ribs, back of the ribs. As you exhale, just give that ball a squeeze and feel like you could lift up to your pelvic floor and lower abs a little more. Inhale, breathe wide. Exhale, a little squeeze. And again, inhale, breathe wide. A little bit of space in between chin and chest. Exhale, squeeze. One more time. Inhale, breathe wide. Exhale, squeeze. And then lower the chest and the head. Take that ball off to the side or whatever prop you were using. Send your left leg to the ground. Hug the right leg into your body. And just for a moment, as this leg hugs in, try to relax through the front of the hip crease and have a sense of that right sitting bone and hip reaching down towards the bottom edge of your mat. Open the right arm, palm up. Inhale, take that leg over the body. So first twist of the day. So try not to force it, but just breathe into it. Feel a little bit of weight in the shoulder. And breathe into all of that space in between the rib cage and the pelvis, right? And there's a little bit of a sense of the tail dropping down, so we're not overarching the back, but we're creating a little bit of length. And then keeping that leg close to the body, bring it back through center, send the right leg to the ground, hug the left leg in. Yeah, and again, just for a moment, as that leg hugs in, can you relax into the hip crease? And then on an inhale, pull it across, open your left arm, palm up. Just feel that shoulder melting out of the ear, right? Try not to force the shoulder to the ground, right? Might touch, might not. But again, just breathe into that space. So in between rib cage and pelvis, tummy's drawing in, there's a sense of length. And then keeping the leg close to the body, bring it back to center. Nice. Knees bent, feet flat. And then lift the hips up, and we're going to take our ball underneath the center of our pelvis, so at the back of the sacrum. So just in between the tailbone and the lower back. And then think of curling the tail under slightly and pressing the back of the pelvis down into the ball so you feel your lower abs draw in. And then one leg at a time can float tabletop. And arms can be relaxed by your side. The narrower the arms, right, the closer they are into your body, the more challenging this is going to be for your balance. If you open your arms wider, right, it's going to feel a little more supported. As you exhale, feel the tummy draw in and tap your right heel towards the floor. And then think of pressing the back of the pelvis into the ball to bring that leg back up. So your abs are taking you up. And then exhale, left heel taps towards the floor. Front of the ribs are dropping down, belly is pulling in. And then deep hip and deep abdominals bringing it back up. And I say towards the floor because your heel does not have to touch. I only want you going so far that this doesn't start to aggravate the back and it stays in the abdominals. If you want to challenge your balance a little further, you can bend your elbows or perhaps take your arms to the sky. There's still a natural curve to the neck, a good amount of weight on the back of my shoulders. In the most challenging position here, you could actually reach your arms about halfway overhead. So there's a challenge to keep the front of the ribs down, and then also definitely a balance challenge. So a couple more like this. Yes. Yeah. And just ending to your left whenever you get there. Hug the knees into the chest once that left side is finished. Yeah. And you might hug the front of the shins or the back of the thighs and just breathe into that. Nice. And then take the legs to the sky, toes pointed. And again, same setup with the arms. So your arms might be wide, they might be narrow, or you might take your arms to the sky to challenge your balance. So regardless of where the arms are, softly pointing the feet, legs are fairly straight, waistline in, exhale, right leg starts to reach towards the ground. I only want you going so far that the back doesn't change position. So really trying to open up through the front of the hip, waistline's in, and then use that waistline to bring you back. And then left leg towards the floor. Right? It's not going to touch. Waistline stays in, ribs stay down and heavy. And as that leg comes up, feel not only deep belly, but also inner thigh and deep hip. Now, if you want to challenge your coordination, as the right leg goes down, the left arm might reach overhead and then back to center. And then as the left leg goes down, the right arm may reach overhead. This can still be done with a palm on the ground. Just a little bit of coordination or a little more challenge if you want it. Yep. Go a little slower with the leg reaching and dropping. So make sure you're not going too low or too fast, so you can really move from your core. And the peel back on this, right, is back into heel taps. Totally okay. Yeah. Yeah, and just make sure it's opposite lens. Yeah, and then Diane, switch that arm for me. Yeah, so left leg, right arm. Take one more, ending with left leg. Yeah, and then hug the knees into the body. And just take a breath or two, relax the shoulders. Big inhale, big exhale. And then settle the feet to the floor one at a time, lift the hips and take that ball out of there if you're using it. All right, we'll come up to seated. And again, if you're using a prop, we can take this ball. We're going to go kind of to the base of the rib cage. If this feels like it's feels icky in your back, just take it higher onto more of the center of the shoulder blades. All right, the ball is going to go somewhere around the base of the ribs, knees bent, feet flat. Right, and intuitively you'll know, right? So for me, I'm going to go just a little higher because my middle back muscles feel a little tight today. My hands are going to come back behind my head for some support. And again, this could be, you could use a foam roller or a pillow on this. You just wouldn't want to use like a foam block, right? You want something kind of soft edged. Now feel the low tummy draw in, tailbone stays heavy, pelvis neutral. And as you inhale, start to stretch back. So think maybe halfway to start. So it's middle spine, upper spine, eyes come towards the sky. And as you exhale, feel the back of the ribs pressing down to curl you up, right? And again, as you inhale, start to stretch back. Feel some weight in your feet, in your tail. Shoulders stay easy. Exhale, curl up. Good. And again. So just take your time on these. You're getting some back extension, which is nice. Your abs have to go on a little bit more of a stretch, so then they have to work a little bit harder as you curl up. And again, more supported, you might just take that ball a little higher, right? Focusing a little bit more on just the upper spine, a little bit less of the middle. So keep going with this. Yeah, inhaling back, it's controlled. Exhaling up. Yep. And then you can start to play around with not yanking from the head or not from overusing your neck, but as you curl up, imagining you could float off the ball slightly. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? I'm not going to actually see you lift completely off the ball. But if you imagine at the top of that lift that you're hovering up a little bit higher to the sky, does that change the sensation in your abs? Right? Everybody feel this? Sweet. So this is nice because you get some more movement in your spine while you're working your abdominals. So just say two more like that. So inhaling back, exhale, curling up, and then imagining, right, you could hover up slightly. And you might feel more of the center line of your tummy turn on, right? The next time that you curl up, let's pause. Good. Narrow the feet slightly. So they're about maybe 2 fist distance, a fist and a half. Keep some weight in your left foot. It's pushing down, and then float the right leg. We'll call it tabletop-ish. So the shin is about parallel to the floor. The knee might not be over the hip. That's fine. On your next breath out, look at your knee and then take a small twist towards it. It's going to feel like you're kind of pushing the ball to the left as you twist to the right. Inhale to center, lower that foot, put weight into it. Left leg floats up, and then we twist towards it. So now it's going to feel like the ball is pushing to your right as you twist to the left. Inhale to center. And again, exhale, right? We're rooting into one leg, opposite lifts, small twists. Bring it down and continue. So keep going with this. And if you feel any discomfort, like if you feel like your middle back is gripping or tightening or your lower back, take that ball a little higher on your back, right? So just make sure it stays within the core, it stays within your obliques, and it's not tightening the back muscles, right? So again, peeling up or layering up, right? Peeling back or layering up is really just relevant on where your body's at today, right? Just make sure you feel the focus. So take one more to your left, right? Next time that you twist to the left, that's your last side. Both feet heavy on the ground. Wiggle yourself a little forward towards your feet so that ball goes up a bit higher to the top of your shoulders, or shoulder blades rather. And then just take a little stretch over. So this is going to be more focused into the upper spine. My head's still supported. Maybe let the elbows open so the front of the chest opens. And it might be comfortable for your head to touch the floor, right? For me today, I'm going to keep it a little bit more supported. Maybe the legs lengthen out, almost like you're in a Shavasana. And we just take a couple deep breaths, letting the whole front line of the body open and letting the upper back get a little bit of extension. Yeah. Yeah, and your legs can go straight if they want. If you want more support, you just keep them bent. Take one full breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then re-support your head to lift your head and chest back up and then come off of that ball. So just make sure your neck is supported. Nicely done. All right, so that ball is going to come off to the side. We're going to come on our side. And a couple different things, right? So you could use your ball as a pillow, right? Just make sure it's not too big if you're using something at home. You could bend your arm, or you can have your arm straight. Just make sure your neck has some support and some length. Knees are forward, feet are in line with the back of the sit bones. And then your top hand can come onto your hip and allow this hip to actually hike up for a moment. And then feel it reach down slightly. So there's some length at the top and bottom of the waist. And then if you take the heel of your hand on your hip bone, take your fingers back onto the side of your glutes, lift your top knee up and pause, flex your foot, turn the toes to the sky and push your top heel down. So as it pushes down into your bottom foot, see if you can feel some tone in the back of your glutes. And as you inhale, take that knee down slowly, set your waistline, exhale, lift that knee up without rolling the pelvis back, right? And we do this one a lot. So inhale, coming down, and then exhaling to lift up. And your hand is also a gauge at, you can have your hand there on your pelvis just to make sure, right? Is your pelvis moving back? Is it rotating? And with your posture, if you tend to be someone that maybe is a little more rounded, I want you to think of lengthening through your spine. If you tend to be someone that's a little more extended, maybe chest up or ribs forward, I want you to think of really softening. So your neutral is just so relevant to your posture, right? Not mine, not your neighbor's. And if you don't feel this, let me know. Yeah. So just two more like this, right? It's kind of easy in the shoulders. Maybe your top arm comes in front at some point. Yeah. Last one. Good. And then lower down. So this next one, we're going to take our ball, if we have it, in between our knees. You can just readjust if we're using it as a prop for the head. And this can also be done without a prop, right? So we do this one quite a bit lately. So hips are stacked. And I'm going to keep my top knee on this ball. And as I exhale, I'm going to rotate my top foot to the sky, trying not to overwork the hip. But if you touch into the side of the side of the pelvis, into the side of the glutes, you should feel some tone there. Inhale to come down, the feet will touch, and then exhaling to lift. It's just a couple like this. So this is going to be pretty supported. So you're trying to find that internal rotation in the hip. Foot fairly relaxed, right? Doesn't have to be super flexed or super pointed. And just get a sense that there's not a ton of work in the hip crease, but again, the work is coming from the side of the glutes. Now, if this is feeling pretty good, you're like, all right, I like this. This feels nice. If you want to up level it, take your ball away. That top leg floats up, so about hip height, the knee stays 90 degrees. I'm gonna push the leg backwards in space just a little. And then again, I'm gonna rotate my thigh in, right? Making sure the knee doesn't drop down, inhaling back to center, and then exhale, thigh rotates in. So right, the foot is going up to the sky. Exactly. So internal rotation, yeah, nice. Again, we've been working on this one a lot lately. Yeah. And just make sure it's not just a lift, right? It's not a leg lift, but there is this rotational element that's happening. Yeah. Everybody feeling this? All right. Last two. And you might notice, right, your internal rotation, that range is different than your external. That's pretty normal. So after that last one, just let the leg come down, rest. You can rub out the side of the hip a little bit, the side of the glutes. Lovely, lovely. And then you can take both hands behind your head. The top elbow is going to lift a little bit to the sky. The hips stay stacked, and we're going to let the head and the rib cage rotate back slightly. So if your back, your upper and middle back tend to be on the tighter side, just go easy on this, take it slow. Right, there's a little space under the bottom ribs, not a ton, but there's some space there as we roll back. Really focusing on the upper and the middle spine, rotating. As you exhale, use your waistline to bring you back. So see if you can feel your obliques helping to bring you back. And again, top elbow lifts, start to rotate head, ribs back in space. Good, breathing into it when you're there. Find that moment of pause and bring it back. And let's just say one more like that. Yeah. Rolling back, take that moment of pause once you're there. Feel a sense of ease into the front of the ribs, sense of length into the back. And then bring it back through center. Nicely done. Prop yourself up onto your bottom forearm. Yeah, knees still bent forward. Top hand to the ribs. And then the ribs get to sink down a little bit, right? And then press into your bottom forearm, lift the ribs up. So you should feel some tone under your armpit, right? Shoulders are easy. And the neck is long. So just notice, right? Especially if you have a mirror, your head's not like this where your, crown of the head is pointing straight to the sky, but it's lengthening out with the rest of your torso. Now you can stay here or top hand to the ground. You can lift the hips. So the knees, the feet are pushing down into the ground. And now I feel a little bit more of the bottom glutes, rib line, and armpit line. Maybe top arm to the sky. Feel a sense of the shoulders rolling back. So there's work in between the shoulder blades, the back of the shoulder. Right. And then the hips can lower, the arm can lower. Set the shoulders, set your waistline, then again, lift up. Maybe that top arm lifts with you. Yep. And again, everything lowers. Check that the shoulder hasn't risen up too high. And lift. Now maybe stay lifted, take an inhale. As you exhale, push into your bottom arm, take this top arm, and just reach it down, around, maybe under your bottom armpit. So there's a little bit of twist in the upper body, and then push into that form again to return to center. And again, right, top arm just reaches a little bit. So there's a sense of width in the shoulder blades, and then we come back through center. There's two more like that. Exhaling, yeah, it doesn't have to be necessarily really big. It's also going to get into your obliques. Last one. So you should feel this around the sides of the ribs. Bring it back to center, lower everything down, press yourself up to seated, and switch sides. So if you had a prop, if you had a ball for a pillow, anything like that, make sure it's close by. We'll definitely use it on our internal rotation. And bring it on down. Just make sure you're on your opposite side, wherever that may be. Good. So knees bent forward, heels in line with the back of the sit bones. All right, make sure ribs, they're soft. Top hand to the top hip. Hike this hip up a little bit. And then feel it reach down slightly. So there's some length. Lift the top knee. Fan your fingers back. Find that glute. Top toes, right, pointing up with the knee. And then top heel is rooting down. As you inhale, lower that knee gently. And then as you exhale, set your waistline, lift the knee up and open. And inhale, lower. So three things happening, right? There's a lift component, There's a pause, and then there's a slow control down, right? If you don't feel this, let me know. But in general, right, if we can find our best posture, it's going to help these muscles turn on more effectively, which is nice because then we don't have to do 100 of them. Keep using your breath, check in at your shoulders or any of your tense spots, right? We all have some place in our body typically that likes to tense, right? So just check that whatever that may be on you, that it's not gripping or tightening, you're still breathing. And of course, you feel your glutes. Last two. Nice. Good. Last one. Yeah, lowering down, right? Take your ball. We're going to place it in between the knees on this one. So hips are still stacked, right? Your top arm can be in front of you, or again, as a reminder, it's on the top hip. As you exhale, rotate your thigh in. So again, right, it's going to look like your foot is reaching towards the sky and then slowly come back. And again, exhaling, thigh rotates in and then bring it down. And just checking, right, the hip isn't hiking, the pelvis isn't rotating. We can maintain, neutral spine, neutral pelvis, not overly rounded, not overly arched. And like for me, this tends to be a little bit of my grippier side, so this feels pretty good. And you could stay here or take that prop away. Thigh lifts, right? Thigh, knee and foot lift parallel to the ground. I push that leg back just slightly. And as I exhale, I rotate the thigh in. So same movement. It'll just be a little more intense without the prop. Exhaling up. Just make sure the intensity, it's coming from the side of the glutes and not just the hip crease. Good. Taking your time, especially if this does get pretty intense, we'll usually want to speed it up to get through it, right? The body's pretty smart. Yeah, just a couple more. Try to keep the foot fairly relaxed and picture, right, where the thigh bone meets the pelvis, and that's where that rotation's coming from. Yeah. Last one. And then let the thigh, the knee, the feet come down. Just rub out the side of the hip a little bit. Good. And then hands behind the head, top elbow to the sky. As you exhale, let the head and the rib cage, the upper ribs, the middle ribs, start to rotate back. And I still have a sense of my waistline drawing in a little bit, sense of length through the back of my tail. One side might be different than the other. On your breath out, rotate back to center. So use your obliques to bring you back. And again, elbow, head, ribs rotate, hips stay pretty still. Right? We're not forcing the movement. We're bringing it back. Good. Couple more like this. This one is so important. If you work at a computer for a long amount of time, this is so good for your upper back, which will also help offload your neck and your lower back. The next time you rotate back in space, hold there, take a couple breaths. Again, try not to force the twist, but maybe as you exhale, maybe you find just the littlest bit of movement. And maybe it's nothing I can see, maybe it's just something you feel. Make sure your neck feels like it has support. As you exhale, rotate yourself back to center and then prop yourself on your bottom forearm. Bless you. And then top hand to the ribs, right? Elbow about under shoulder. It might be just a teeny bit away. The ribs are going to sink down a bit to start, right? And then press into your forearm, lift the ribs up so you feel, right? If you feel into here, you feel some work under the armpit and down into the side of the ribs. And then maybe lift the hips. Maybe that top arm lifts as well. All right, and just holding here so you feel, right, the bottom glutes, the side of the hip, lower ribs, armpit. You can take the hips and that arm down, set the shoulder, right, just so it's not forward, it's rolling back a little, and then lift. Top arm can lift as the hips lift. Right, limbs are pushing down, good. And then we take it down. And again, set your tummy, set your shoulder, we can lift. All right, so leveling up, you can stay lifted, keep pushing into that bottom forearm. And as you exhale, just take, right, that top arm towards the armpit. You're gonna feel like your ribs are kind of rounding and twisting, right, because they are. Inhale, pushing that arm to bring you back to center. So it's going to be more than just the shoulder, right? We're getting into the obliques. We're getting into those muscles behind our shoulder blades. This is one, again, don't force it. Doesn't matter how big the movement is today. Keep breathing. Last one. And this can also be done with the hips on the ground. And then allow those hips to settle down. Good. Press yourself up to kneeling. So find some space. So, you have room on either side of you, right? So left and right, you have some room. Your knees have a little bit of cushion. So if you're at home on a yoga mat, you might fold your mat in half, especially if you're on a hard surface, right? No props needed for this one. So we're up on our knees. And we're going to take, so it's going to be at home, your left leg, my right leg. Toes are going to point forward. So, right, my right leg is long, and I'm going to lean a little bit away from this leg to start. Now, your bottom arm, right, that hand is going to come up to the midline of your ribs, the side of your ribs, and your top arm is just kind of relaxed by your side. Now, I want you to root into your bottom leg, lift your pubic bone a little bit so you feel your tailbone drop, and you find some length, and right, keep leaning away from that leg. So from your nose to your pubic bone, kind of through your leg, you're one long line. And on your next breath out, you can lift your top arm to the sky or perhaps overhead. And you want to feel right under your hand, there's some tone there. Inhale, lower. Big exhale. Top arm lifts, neck stays long. Inhale, lower. Right, and as this arm goes up, especially if it's coming up overhead, your palm is going to turn, right? That arm is going to turn out and it's going to turn back in as you come back down. But the main work here you want to feel is the side of your waist. Definitely there's some glutes on, right? I'm still rooting into my bottom leg. Last one like this. And then if you want to advance, both arms are long. I set my belly. As I exhale, both arms can lift. So we've added more load. Inhale, lower, right? I'm peeling it back today. My abs are super, super tired. So again, make sure this stays within your waist. It doesn't start to go too much into the back line. And not that your back extension working is a bad thing. They are just not the star of the show on this one, right? So last one, whatever level you're doing. Yeah. And then allow the arms to lengthen by your side, right? My bottom arm is going to come out a bit away from my body. And you want to bring it out so far. It can be a decent away from your shoulder, so far that this top leg, I'm not going to say effortlessly, but it fairly easily can lift, right? Shoulders are out of the ears. Now, if being on your hand or knee doesn't feel good, just come down onto your side, right? So you can do this all from your side. Top arm to your belly is a reminder to keep it in a little bit. The side of your hip is a reminder to keep your butt on, or to the sky. As you inhale, lower the top leg down. Point the foot. As you exhale, reach out, lengthen, lift. Inhale, slowly lower. So again, there's work on the way down. There's work on the way up, and there's work on that moment of pause. Yeah. Make sure the leg isn't starting to come forward of your body, but it's reaching a little bit back. And again, just a reminder, right? We can be on our side like this, doing leg lifts. My top arm can still be up if I want to challenge my balance. It can be down, right? So this series, you can definitely peel it back. All good. Last two, whatever version you're doing. And keep easing out of the shoulders. Last one, wherever you're at, hold and breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And then lower that leg down. Take your top arm overhead. So if you're on the ground, same thing. Just top arms reaching, top legs reaching. Allow your head to get heavy. And then look down at your bottom arm. Breathe into the top waistline. Yep. And then just bring everything down into child's pose or some kind of resting pose, maybe cat stretch, maybe a down dog feels more appropriate. But wherever you're at, just breathe. Good. And then slowly make your way back up onto your knees. So my left leg at home, your right, reaches out, toes are forward, right? If this gets really crampy in the side of the hip, you can also turn this leg out, it's fine. but I'm gonna lean away from this top leg. The bottom knee, it's under the hip. I'm rooting into my bottom leg, right? So the back of my glute on that standing leg is on, my waistline's in, bottom hand to the top of the ribs. And then as you exhale, right, your belly's preset, that top arm can lift. Yeah, maybe it goes overhead and then we lower. And you just want to make sure that you feel some tone, right? Kind of this front side of the ribs. It's not just kind of coming from this side of your lower back, right? You feel the obliques having to stabilize. Yeah. Yeah. And just keep rooting into that bottom leg. Low waistline lifting, neck stays long. Couple more like this, and then we can add on. Good. So maybe both arms are heavy, both arms are long, and then they both lift and lower. Yeah, and again, I'm going to stay with the peeled back version today, but feel free to add on, right? Just listen to where your body's at. Good. Pubic bone still lifting, so that lower back has some length. Keep rooting into that bottom leg so your lower back has some support. Last one. Good. Both arms lengthen down. That bottom arm is going to walk out a bit. Yeah, just keep it walking until this top leg starts to lift. And again, you can be on your side. You do not have to be on your knee or your arm. Roll the shoulder out of the ear, waistline's in, top foot pointed, and just a little bit behind you. As you inhale, lower that leg down, root into your bottom leg and bottom arm to help lift that leg up. Inhale, bring it down. Exhale, root and lift. And you might notice, right, your obliques, your waistline is still working here with your glutes. Exhaling up, ease into the jaw, inhale down. Exhale up, inhale down. Waistline still in. Yeah. Shoulders still easy. Last two, whatever version you're doing, right, on your side or kneeling. And the last one, wherever you're at, hold and breathe. Lengthening out through the fingers, rooting down through the limbs. Lower that top leg, take top arm overhead, let the head drop slightly so your whole spine, right, including the neck, is going into a little bit of a side bend. You can look at that bottom hand, breathe into the top waistline. And then as you exhale, bring it down to child's pose. Again, maybe cat stretch, down dog, whatever you're feeling. Just some kind of rest pose. Good. Big inhale, big exhale. Nice. And then rise up onto hands and knees. We'll walk up to the top of the mat, and then we're going to drop down onto the forearms pretty quickly. So elbows are under shoulders. Hands can be separated for more intensity, together for a little bit more support for your neck. Now, shoulders wrap down, inner elbows hug in, narrow the knees slightly to about fist distance, and make sure they're underneath your hips. As you exhale, send the right leg back and up and pause. Just check in, right? Let your head relax down a little so that the neck is following the line of your upper back, which is angling slightly downward. Keep rooting into your bottom leg. And just notice, as you root down into that standing leg, does your outer butt turn on? And then take the top leg, bend it in. As you inhale, as you exhale, reach back and up. Low tummy, low ribs drawing up and in. Inhale, bend. Exhale, back and up. Feel like your elbows are not only hugging in towards one another, but they're pulling towards your bottom leg. Shoulder blades wide. So feeling both glutes, right? Both sides of the glutes on this. Yeah. Just a couple more like this. Yeah. And then Diane, just stay on that one side, just that right leg. Yeah. Check that the hips aren't swaying. So Julia, feel, yeah, there we go. Yep. Now hold. Next time the leg is lifted, hold. Relax the shoulders. Re-widen, right? Re-widen your upper back. And on your next breath out, can you take that leg, turn it out, and can you start to take it out to the side and down to the ground? So I'm almost in line with my hip. I lift, rotate back to center. So I flex the foot, turn the leg out, reach out, waistline stays long, I drop towards the ground, and then I lift, rotate, come back to center. Now the peel back for the shoulders, right? You can always come up onto the hands for this if the neck or the shoulders are getting a little tired, right? Good. 2 more. So lots of different options. Last one. Shoulder blades wide. And then bring it all down. Take a child's pose. Knees can be together or apart. Together is going to give your spine a little bit more stretch. Apart will give your hips a little bit more stretch. Let the head and the shoulders relax. Yeah. And then rise back up onto your forearms. So elbows about under shoulders. Yeah, feel like your inner elbows were hugging in and pushing down, right? And then that opposite leg is going to reach back and up. So my left leg, it might be opposite on you. Shoulders wide. Let the jaw and the head relax a little. Keep lifting through that back leg. Feel the front of the hip stretch open. And then lower down slowly, bend it in. Keep rooting into that standing leg as you reach back and up. And down and in. Back and up. Good. Good. And then for Julia, just feel that left hip drop in just a little. There we go. Nice. Good. Lower ribs are lifting. Yep, for Meg, feel the upper back kind of puff up a little bit and widen. Yeah, there you go. Just see if you can get a little stretch through that midline. Yep. There we go. And Elizabeth, hips to your left, just slightly. Yeah, nice. So you should feel those outer right glutes turn on. Yeah. Yes, good. Now the next time that leg is lifted, just hold there, flex the foot, right? Turn your leg out. So make sure you're on your opposite side on this, right? We turn out, reach out to the side, drop the leg down towards the floor, root into your limbs to lift and come back to center. And again, turn out, reach out, waistline stays long. And then root down, lift, come back to center. So keep going with that. There's a turn out, a reach out, and a lift and back to center. And this can be done on the hands as well, right? So that'll take some work off the shoulders. Yeah. Yeah. And then Naomi, feel the hip shift left. Yeah, even as you reach out, maintain that so you get those right glutes on. Yeah. And find that width to your middle back. Yeah. Last 2. With the glutes on both sides. Last one. Bring yourself back to center and again, push back, child's pose, cat stretch, down dog, whatever you think, or whatever you feel like your body needs. Breathe into it. In through nose, out through mouth. And then rise up to hands and knees for planks. So fingers spread pretty wide, right? Knees under hips to start, thighs together, tuck your toes. And really push down into your hands, widen your upper back, right? It doesn't mean you're necessarily rounded, but there's width. You feel some work under your armpits and under your shoulder blades. Step the legs back one at a time into plank, keeping the waistline lifting, feet pushing down. Now, other options on this could be a knees down kneeling plank, so low plank. This can be forearm plank at any point. But you want to still have a little bit of a natural curve to the neck and the lower back. So my eyes are looking slightly forward. I'm not going to drop down in my head. There's a sense of the pubic bone lifting and a sense of the tailbone dropping. Keep your waistline definitely lifting up, right? Inner elbows slightly forward. Make sure the arms aren't locked. You feel your biceps and your triceps. And feel like your hands and your feet could pull towards one another Or if the knees are on the ground, hands and knees. And then take a big inhale. Exhale, lower the knees, push back, child's pose. Maybe take the arms behind you this time, palms turn up, shoulders relax. And again, big inhale, big exhale. Lovely. Yeah, and then rise back up. If you want to advance, come onto your forearms. So elbows under shoulders, hands can be separated, palms can be up or facing one another. Make sure the shoulders are under the ears and you can step back into your plank. The hips naturally usually start high on this, so you want to drop them down in line with the ribs. Feel like your hip bones are narrowing. Your forearms are pushing down, your feet are pushing down. Sense of inner elbows hugging in and pulling towards your feet. And there's a sense here of your breastbone lengthening slightly forward as your tailbone is lengthening slightly down and back. Now again, this might be forearms and knees down, or again, they can stay lifted, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, rest on 1. And child's pose, feet together, knees can open on this one. And then your arm's gonna walk a little bit off to your left. And you can find a gentle stretch through that right side. So I'm reaching through my right arm and my right hip. Yeah, and you can play around with, right, maybe the shoulder lifts all the way into your ear and then it drops down a bit. And just notice, right, as that shoulder goes all the way up, you feel a different stretch down the side of your ribs. And just ease into both shoulders. Walk the arms over to the other side. Breathe into that side to start. And then maybe find a little bit more reach. Maybe shoulder lifting and dropping. Yeah, just kind of noticing what that feels. So this is a pretty supported place. Bring the hands back through center. Nice, rise up to hands and knees, press yourself through a down dog, and eventually we'll come into forward fold and we'll roll ourselves up to standing. All right. So you might stay on your mat, you might come off of your mat, right? So on the mat is going to be a little bit more challenge for your balance. Off the mat will be a little more supported. Now you can also use a wall, a chair, a counter, anything like that works. So I'm going to face this way to start. So feet, I would say about fist distance, maybe 2 fist distance apart. So really inner hip. Root into the feet. Feel a little bit of lift through the waistline, a little bit of lift through the crown of the head. And as the crown of the head's reaching up, feel your feet rooting down, right? Legs aren't locked. And then if your hands come onto your hips, right? So hands onto hip bones, fingers spread back to the side of the glutes, bend your right leg. You're going to feel a little bit of a shift. But as that right leg bends, can you feel some work in your standing legs? So side of the glutes, inner thigh, kind of, 3-dimensionally, but make sure you feel your bum. And then send the right leg down. And again, there's going to be a little bit of a shift. Left leg bends. And lower. So keep doing this. Keep alternating for now. Right? And as you bend, again, there's a little bit of movement. You're watching that it's not this big kind of rib movement or a hip drop. Right? So your body can absorb and balance on one leg. And again, you might be holding on to something, side of the wall, all good. So the next time your right leg bends, if you want to layer up, keep your right leg bent. Make sure your standing leg has a bend in the knee, right? So it's not locked out. Take that right thigh, reach it a little bit back in space, just enough to feel your butt turn on, ribs are in. And then hands at your hip creases, you're going to hinge into your standing hip crease, into your left hip crease. My waistline stays long, right? Now I don't have to go very far on this. Push into the standing leg to bring you up. So it's glute, hamstrings, right? All the rest, but definitely glutes, yeah? So again, inhale to hinge. I'm not rounding into my back to create this. I'm hinging through my hip crease. Okay. And then pushing into that leg to bring you back. So this is essentially our hip extension that we did on our forearms, right? So inhaling, exhaling. If you need more support, you can always have your right toes on the ground while you hinge, or hands on a surface. Next time you're up, set your foot down, shake out that standing leg a little bit. And then I'm rooting through my right. I can bend into my left. That left leg reaches back just enough to feel some tone in the back of the leg. And then through the right hip crease, there's a bit of a hinge. Waistline still in. And then pushing into that leg to bring me back up. So again, make sure you feel your glutes on this. Are we feeling that? And it's 3-dimensional. So everything that we were doing on kneeling and on our forms, with all that glute work, we've just taken it upright. So inhaling to hinge, root into the standing leg, exhaling up. Last one. Easy in the shoulders. Next time you're up, set that leg down, shake out the feet. Nice. Feet can be hip distance, or if you want a little bit more stretch in your spine and your hamstrings, feet and thighs together. Shake out the arms a bit. Yeah, maybe lift them and roll them back a couple times. And just find a place where your shoulders feel kind of easy. You're not, forcing them up or down. And as you exhale, nod your chin. Feel some length in the back of the neck and just start to roll it down. You can bend your knees as much as you need to on this. And just rolling down. Keep in mind, if your feet are together, this might feel a bit different than when our feet are hip distance. Let the head and the arms be heavy. And as you breathe in, feel your upper back and ribs widening. And as you breathe out, feel your stomach lifting. Yeah, and then just 1 or 2 more breaths like that. And then on your next breath out, root into the feet, slowly start to roll yourself up. So can you connect into your legs as you roll up? Can you connect into your core, front, back, side to side? Let the head come up last. And we'll end you there today. Nicely done. Thanks for playing. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. We can spray everything off. Everything can go away, can hang back up. That's all she wrote. So in Portland, it's a rainy day here, so stay dry.